guess just ask folks maybe join. They can just pop a seat and yeah. So I want to welcome y'all. Thank y'all so much for attending my artist talk for Second Chances. My name is Quamaine Giles. So like I said, I want this artist talk to just pretty much be just open-ended. I just briefly will speak about the show and what inspired it. And then I just want to just pretty much open this up for questions, and we just have a discussion. You guys can pretty much learn from me and necessarily how I created this works, how I go about creating my work, what's next, or any kind of questions you may have. I'm an open book for at least a good 45 minutes to an hour, or however long we want to be here. So Second Chances came from the idea of wanting more and wanting to live the life I desire. The first 25 years of my life, I focused on necessarily pleasing others, being accepted by others, even if they discarded me, just wanting to be accepted. So I always tried to make sure I did things that will keep me in their good place. Because as a kid, sometimes I would feel lonely or felt necessarily by myself a lot. Being raised in a single parent home, two younger sisters, and just being the older of the two, just kind of left me alone because I really didn't have anyone. My two sisters had each other, and also with us having different fathers, kind of also put a little damper in my household as well, because their father necessarily sort of raised me from time to time when he would pick them up, but his kids obviously they reminded me of that. So I kind of always had this reminder that I was an outcast or I was an other. So I kind of always lived with that. And as I progressed and got older, I didn't want to feel that from people, so I always tried to please. So I became a very people pleaser. But living that life, I think at some point you realize that it's not really healthy, and you realize that everything that you've probably lived into that point wasn't for you at all. You've probably never lived for yourself at all during that time. And at 25 is when I realized that. That's when I realized that pretty much everything up until that point was nothing for me. I never desired any of it. It was just more or less what I thought I was supposed to have done. I was afraid to go for what I wanted to go for in life because I felt that it would only push me further away from people, and it would just only cast me away further. But once achieving those things that I didn't want and living in that life, realized that I have an extremely longer life if I really want to live, that it's going to be an extremely long, unhappy life. So I started to try to make change and trying to understand what that change is. So art is what necessarily helped me feel that change. It's one of those things that I desired and loved doing because I would do it for the sake of no money if money wasn't an issue. And so from that time, I just wanted to necessarily learn and figure out how do I actually live that life and become an artist that can be self-sustainable and live off of it and take care of his family. And that is when the first time I realized that this is something I truly wanted to go for. This is something I truly desire and want in life. So I made it an effort at that time to start making a conscious change in my life to make sure that I only allowed and accepted people that wanted to be around me and that wanted to see me have that change. And that's how this journey begun. I had no kind of formal education of art at all. I have an engineering degree background. That's what I worked in IT for 4.5 years before just taking that plunge, into this artist lifestyle that I'm living and that I've been living for the last 6 years. And along that way, I've been trying to necessarily understand and find my voice. So it's taken me 10 years to necessarily find the voice that you see here today. And that voice is the work of discarded materials, found objects, things that are casted aside, and that are just deemed useless once they've used it for whatever use that they intended it for. And I wanted to show that there's beauty lies around us, no matter how you see fit. It's just necessarily the perspective of the viewer and what deems is beauty. And I necessarily deem that there's beauty amongst all of us and around us. And it's just how we just perceive it out here in the world. So I wanted to take these things that you will just necessarily throw away, discard, remove, put it in a new setting and create new stories around it and present it in front of people of showing them what is true beauty to me. And it's the layers and the multi-layers of all of these things that I've learned and become over the years. So that's how this show, Second Chances, was birthed. You know, so yeah, I just don't want to go too much into it, but like I said, I wanted to go ahead and open this floor to necessarily we have an open discussion. You guys can learn about me, learn about the pieces, and at the end of the day, you notice that I don't have a moderator up here, and that is on purpose, because at the end of the day, I wanted to necessarily allow my guests and the people who are here to be my moderators. You can ask the questions, and whatever questions you want to ask, if I have an answer to it, I will give you that answer. So.
I'll jump in since you said yesterday. So like, you know how, especially with abstract artists and the eye of the beholder, right? So when I looked at this piece here, what's the name of this?
Many chances.
Many chances. I immediately saw how the layers are pushing out, and it could be anything from an old shanty town in South Africa to a shack in Culverton, Georgia to a brownstone. And when I saw you using the round shapes, I immediately started getting people looking out of windows, peering out of windows, like they brought me into, when you're doing an abstract, I'm just telling you what I saw, but when you're finished, do you see that, or are you intentionally doing anything to personify, or is it all abstract?
So for me, I'm not really intentionally trying to perceive anything from it, other than necessarily creating this sense of depth. That's all that I necessarily strive for, and these dimensions is what I necessarily seek and have a satisfaction for. So the fact is, I think that you have that connection of shagginess and see that I think that's beautiful, right? Because it is a representation of home for me. You know, I'm from the countryside. I'm from a very country area. It's woodies and just like rusty and rustic meadow and factory towns, and also a lot of poverty as well. But I think for me, it's nothing is necessarily intentional when it comes to some sort of figurative look or viewpoint, I guess I'm trying to convey. More or less is just for me, can I necessarily walk into it? Mm-hmm. You know, and that's how I just work and keep working.
Do we have to raise our hand?
No, yeah, but you can just go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead. Just go for it.
No, I've been following you, since you kind of got here. Hey, where are you from originally? Like what?
So I'm originally from Martinsville, Virginia. It's a small town, but it's a city. Population of 12,000 people, and we have a surrounding probably of 50,000 in the county. So it's probably no more than 100,000 people within where I grew up. So I'm from an extremely large family, so everyone is my cousin. You know, and you just can't. It's from a place where necessarily everyone knows everyone. They know your mama, your grandma, from your great grannies, and once you say a last name, they just start telling you your entire family line.
That's amazing.
It's like,
Well, I asked that to ask, where did you get your craftsmanship? Like, when did you start saying, okay, I'm gonna frame my own work? But even prior to that, when did you discover that you had a knack for craftsmanship?
I discovered that being at Peter Street Station. Just basically helped build out Peter Street Station when I moved here in 2018. just helping work with Maya on that building in Row, it kind of birthed this like essence of working with wood. And then from there, it started obviously making me go down this journey of trying to find my lineage and just understand my lineage. And my grandfather was a logger. That's what he did. My uncle was a logger. My great uncle was a carpenter. Several uncles were carpenters. So I come from a line of carpenters, you know, from a family line of carpenters on both sides of my family. Our uncles and grandfathers built their own homes, you know. So that's just that. It's instilled in me. It's just who I am. It's just, and it's it's how I was raised. But for me, it was like I saw those trades, but I never wanted to be a part of it, because for me, it's just like, it was country. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to go to the big city. Like, I want to go to the big city. I want to have the suits. Like, I don't want to be out here working in the field, or necessarily you know, in the workshops with people and stuff like that. I wanted to necessarily be a city slicker, you know. So I wanted to be in the big city and have the suits and work in the corporate office. But I got that life and realized that, you know, where I was raised was like a lot of happiness there. It's just, I don't think they just knew how to really share that with the youth, you know. And that's where it's like I'm necessarily going back to my roots, like with everything, with all of this. So that's just where it came from. And for me, it's like, when I learn something, I want to become the best at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm naturally a competitive person. You know, I grew up playing a lot of sports. And so once I took framing and started framing my first like pieces, I realized like, I could do better, you know, and started researching. Went to YouTube Academy and just like learned everything that you see here. I learned that all off of YouTube. You know, and just progressed it year after year after year.
Can you talk a bit about just your process of like, how long did it take to bring all the materials together, and what's your process look like? Do you go around the city and just like find shit?
So, nah, I really don't. Like, sometimes I may find things at friends' studios, also here at the station. Having a lot of artist friends are very helpful as well, too, because they just, yo, Q, I got a box of stuff, do you want it? And I'll be like, hell yeah, let me just go through it and find some things. And for me, I take it, right? And then a lot of this stuff also is from me, from my daily life. You know, it's just like, as humans, we consume a lot. We buy a lot, you know? So I don't really have to go out and find a lot of it. I can just, instead of me just throwing it away or trying to just toss it in trash or recycle it, I say, hey, I'm gonna hold on to this and keep it, right? Like, I like the color of this. I like the texture of this, you know? And I just collect all these things. So I have a basement full of just stuff in boxes, bags, from just holding on and collecting things. And the wife she calls me a hoarder. Because I don't want to get rid of things. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna hold on to it. Like, you know, it's like, I'm gonna use that for an art piece. It's like, you've had it here for 2 years. I'm like, I mean, I haven't got there yet, but I promise you, something's gonna be birthed from that thing. Like, it's like, you know, and that's just what it is. Like, and using these materials, it helps me tell the stories, you know, and yeah, it's challenging, and I love a challenge, you know. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm collecting from the city, and I'm also just collecting for myself too.
Do you see any parallels? Obviously, I'm a supporter of your other art. You know, you're a great tattoo artist. But do you find any parallels from the tattoo world that help you in this realm? Like, me being a chef, like, that definitely helped me in the art world. Like, a lot of things from that world helped me excel in this world, right? So, like, do you see that, or what are they?
I would say, yeah, for sure. I think for me, like, with tattooing, like, you know what I'm saying, it's like very customer service based, right? Like, really being able to tolerate people and talk to people and have communication with one another. And I think tattooing can help me like get better at that. You know, it steers me away from being shy. It steers me away from necessarily wanting to engage with people. And also with tattooing, you have to like learn certain like color palettes. Like, because at the end of the day, we can't really be as forgiving as we can with paint, right? This is someone's skin, so you got to kind of know exactly what you want to do and know exactly why you want to do it, because you know and get in and get out, right? It's the type of situation, and that kind of like thought process helps me with necessarily when I create and make work, right? Like to be precise on certain things, and so I would say that's just like that would be in that connection that I've gotten from tattooing. It's just, you know, being able to be precise and meticulous, like and being able to know exactly what it is I want to do. You know, because sometimes like a lot of these pieces just kind of start with just the formulating of just putting things together and allowing the practice of just working, and also this habit of just constantly working and just letting the piece just kind of birth itself through the process of making. You know, because with tattooing, there's this repetition of trying to make a lot of designs and keep making designs because you want to draw people in. You know, you have that same aspect with this painting. Like, I make a lot of work. I keep making work. Even if it don't necessarily draw a person in, I'm not gonna get stuck on it. I'm gonna just keep producing, right? Because I think the more I produce, the better I can become at it, you know? So all of that stuff is also playing a good role into it as well.
So kind of following up to that, my question was around how do you start with the design, or do you just start? I think you mentioned that you just kind of create, but do you put things together and say, okay, I want to see what this looks like, and then you start to do your magic to it, or like, can you talk a little bit even more about that?
So mostly, this piece is a little different because this is just a canvas, and this was one of those canvases that was just necessarily sitting in my studio for 4 years, something I stretched 4 years ago. And because I don't work on canvases at all, and this was stretched from tarp, from just like painter's floor tarp. But like for these pieces like this, it is formulated with just necessarily just working with the material. I don't have an idea what the shape or what it's gonna look like. But for me, it's just like adding this piece and just adding these layers. And just once I see a shape that is very distinct or very eye-catching to myself, like, okay, I like that shape. Now it's time for me to start adding my colors, adding other materials to it, and start really putting my spice to it. You know, and that's how it's developed. Whereas something like this, you automatically have the square, you have the rectangle already, you know? So for me, it was a little more difficult because it's like, how do I still give that essence of movement and all these other things with such a static piece, you know? So that's just working with a lot of stuff and removing a lot of stuff, you know, it starts to just fully come, you know? And for this one in particular, I felt in order to really make this piece work, I had to have the rope. The rope is what necessarily will make the eyes wander, make it like, you know, tie it all together in my opinion, you know, and yeah, and then like I said, you probably won't see me work on this kind of spectrum. I don't know, it will be a while, you know, because personally, me, it's not really my favorite. I really just love making these organic shapes.
Feel confined?
So confined, right? And then this is also the one where I felt that the idea had to really like stick, and I had an idea from start to finish, you know. And then for me, it was getting very too reputational. Like it was just seeming like too rigid at a time. So I had to really start being disruptive and really just like. Go ahead, speak your mind. Go ahead.
No, I mean, like, this gives me escaping from the cotton plantation and the swamps.
Yes, okay.
The bondage of the ships.
Yes.
With the water and the green of the swamp and forest, and then
Like a
Just runaway slave, just trying to get the heck up out.
So it's crazy because at the end of the day, I want to convey that, right? And that's all I want to convey, because this is titled Broken Lineage. So for me, I've been trying to necessarily find my lineage. Where do I come from? Where are my people from? And it's lost, right? The farthest I can go back is 1865. You know what I'm saying? And I am, all I know is my family has been from Virginia. And even when I go speak to my great aunts and who gave me these stories and who shared this stuff with me about their great grandparents and stuff who all were raised on plantations, like, all we know is Virginia, honey. Like, you know what I'm saying? So my side of where I'm from is forever lost. You know what I'm saying? So I would never ever find it. But I now have this second chance to try to hold on to whatever I do know and keep sharing it and keep expressing it and just, you know, being open to learn. Yeah, that's it. So I wanted to convey that, because at first I wanted to show that, you know, all my family know is cotton fields and the countryside, you know, and it can be daunting, right? Like, you know, because, you know, I have a wife who's Haitian who can track her lineage and know that stuff, and that's what made me very curious. And you know, it was very heartbreaking, you know, to get to that and just know that this is where it stops for me.
I think we need to get you some photos and get you the hidden root escapes. As a man from Virginia, I think he can help you out.
Yeah, so and for me, and it's like, the funny thing is, I grew up around my great grandfather, right, who was born in 1900. He lived to 102. You know, he died when I was 11, 12 years old. So that history in itself that I could have learned and could have really obtained. But you as your kid, you know what I'm saying, you don't realize. He never drove a day in his life, you know what I'm saying? But again, he was raised in Virginia, that's it. And the field and the land that he lived and raised his family on was, so a white man sold it to him, was pretty much gave it to him in a sense. Yeah.
Did you feel the pull, like more emotional pull and difficulty while you were leaning into that one compared to the others?
I did, because at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure it was right, but I didn't want it to be. It is sad, right? And it's discouraging, but I didn't want it to. I don't want you to feel that, you know. More or less, is I wanted to still be able to have this sense of joy that I can try to share my story and try to find more, you know what I'm saying? So I think that was the struggle at first, because for a time I felt it looked very dark, and it looked evil, and for me, and I didn't want nothing to really show that, you know, because at the end of the day, everything here is about rebirth and happiness, you know. It's about overcoming things that, you know, that you struggled with, you know, in life.
It looks like a navigation, like a map to me, like an aerial footage of a map that would be used to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's beautiful that people feel that and have that sense of you know, vibe from looking at that, you know. But yeah, I initially wanted to go to the cotton fields and pick the cotton, but a cotton field is apparently 3 hours and like 30 minutes away from here, so I didn't really get to make that mission. So. That's good. Yeah, I'm happy that, because I don't. At the end of the day, I don't want nothing in here to feel dark. You know.
I do the same thing. And be like, this looks dark, and then we go in and throw some things back, and you know what I mean. But it's like at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily. People aren't going to necessarily feel that. You know what I mean? It's like more the sort of energy you put into it. You never know how it's going to be received.
Right. Yeah. I mean, indeed, bro. So, but I think also. Once you find your voice, right? I was talking to Artemis about this earlier today. It's like, once you have your voice, you know, and you're able to showcase it in front of someone, I think no matter what happens with it, you know what I'm saying, you're confident enough, you're comfortable enough to share it with people, and to put it out there. So, and to just hear people's perspective from it, you know. So I appreciate you all, and I think some of the things that people are coming back to me and saying, for me, it's just mind blowing that people have that sensation from it, because sometimes it be fucking pretty spot on. And for me to be able to convey that with no words, no sort of representation in it, just lets me know that I did the right thing and that I'm on the right path. And I just got to continue down this path.
That's the power of like abstract work, right? Like, you know, you put something in and then you just wait to see how the response is going to be. It's not an obvious thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's challenging, but you know, you did a great job. It all has a real strong energy to it.
Thank you.
Can you go a little bit of depth into this one? I'm really drawn to it. I feel like it's a train track. Like I feel like I'm traveling through.
So again, so this is by far my favorite piece in the entire show. I know this was challenging, but this one was probably the one that actually really probably, you know what I'm saying, it's the scariest for me. Because this one kind of really ties into my darkness that I've had in my life. You know, like I said, I battled depression back in 25 when I was 25 years old, and it was very, very, very dark. At that point in my life, I no longer wanted to be here. I never wanted to commit suicide, but I ain't have no sake of living. You know what I'm saying? If you get it, me waking up was pretty much pointless. So waking up crying and just feeling lost, and just not necessarily knowing why the fuck am I here. You know what I'm saying? I was going through a lot of that. So I ended up titling this Knock Knock because at the end of the day, it's between who do I want to answer the door, death or life. And honestly, I chose life. And the way I was able to choose life is by, again, pursuing what it is I desire. And I knew that would be the only way I would be happy and my life will feel very, it would have a purpose, you know? Even if I had no idea where it was going to take me, you know? I had no idea where this was going to be. 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Y'all tell me I have a solo show out here in Atlanta, I probably would have laughed at you, you know? Because 10 years ago, it was my first time picking up a paintbrush and just not necessarily even trying to fathom being an artist. And so I wanted to necessarily showcase a piece of when you decide to choose and live for yourself and overcome that of what can happen. And this is one of those situations of that, you know. Like I said, me choosing life and choosing a career path that I wanted to live for and wake up every day, you know, and that's how this was birthed. So for me, these are used, this is built strictly from the doorway in my house when I remodeled it. That's how the title Knock Knock ended up becoming, because I am using door jambs to even build this up. I took down a wall in my house. So I used these doorways, these door jambs to build it, and as I'm building it, it kind of just made sense of, this was a door, and instead of me answering the door to death and wanting that, I answered the door to life, and I want to show that, and I want people to feel that, you know. And this one right here, you know what I'm saying, it has every ounce of my soul in it. So that's the reason why I even decided not to even sell it. It's part of my private collection. It's something that I will keep close and dear to me. You know, and it's the one piece I will keep out of this collection.
I'm not sure if you spoke on it already, but the choice of color palette, like the color palette?
So my choice of color palette, I wanted it to be a remembrance of home, countryside. That's the reason why. It's something that I'm comfortable with. It's something that I love. I'm a very nature person. So that's the reason why I was just drawn to this. And also it's for me, it's my comfort zone, but also I wanted to go ahead and it be my going away as well, because I want to necessarily try new color palettes, new things from after this show, you know, because it's so comfortable and so easy to me that I don't want it to be a crutch. and I wanted to allow myself to explore new color palettes, and yeah, that's it, man. Like it's definitely by far my favorite. I'm gonna always come back to it at some point, you know. But yeah, I've been really leaning on it through these last 2 years.
What first drew you into found objects?
So I think that is just from learning abstraction, right? Like I started putting just paint on canvases and just like kind of just slapping paint everywhere, you know, and I don't know, it just wasn't really doing anything for me. Kind of like it felt like a scam. And then having a mentor like Jamel, who ended up really kind of like taking notice of me making work, it really started like educating me a little bit more on abstraction in itself, like what it, you know what I'm saying, and the materials people used. And then during COVID, wasn't able to go to the art store, so that's when I was just like, oh, well, I've been to enough museums and started seeing, like, well, Rauschenberg uses this, such and such, you know what I'm saying? And started realizing how artists were using these materials and just formulating their ideas with it and making it into paintings. So that's where it just started birthing, that's where it birthed me. And I was just like, okay, well, I think I want to go ahead and start working with these found materials because there's so much of this out here, and also I have so much at hand, you know, and I don't really have to spend a lot of money to go ahead and buy all these materials. So that's just what kind of drew me in. And then from there, it's just been trying to learn how to have a voice with it, you know, understanding what is the purpose of it, what is the use of some of these materials, you know, and allowing it to come to the forefront, you know.
If you had to live in a world where one could not exist, would you choose color or texture that you could create your art with moving on?
Ooh, wow, dang. To be honest, I think I would choose texture.
I could see that.
Yeah, because because I mean, with the texture can also be just as moving as color, you know. There are that's the reason why I love using some of the materials, because the materials in itself has its own texture, and you know what I'm saying, and has when you put it there, the reflections that it may give, you know, it creates like, you know what I'm saying, it just does something to it. And for me, I don't feel like I don't have to work as hard with it. It's just more or less, there's a lot more play when it comes to texture and the materials. Whereas paint, I feel like I'm more manipulating and trying to create more of an illusion with certain things.
Speaking of color, is there like a neon red spray paint behind the cardboard?
So no spray paint at all. It is called luminous paint, and that's just a reflection paint. And that's something I've just been kind of working and trying to figure out these last couple of years, because for me, I wanted to create this like stop sign effect or light effect to the paintings. Like, hey, take a look at me. You know what I'm saying? I'm glowing. I'm right here. I am here to draw you in. And I wanted to do that without necessarily LEDs or anything like that, because you know then you got cables are all over the place trying to have battery operated. So therefore, if I use paint, then it would always forever exist. You know, and coming to find that luminous paint is the best that actually can cast that color and that reflection to make it look like it's a light behind it, but it's nothing but paint.
I totally missed that. I feel like I'm tripping or I looked at the sun wrong. I remember you, I think you did it first, was it in the styles?
In the styles, yeah, that's when I first discovered it, but I was using glow in the dark, and it had to be very dark behind it.
And I'm assuming, is that why you're using with your framing? Is that why the background is white, or is that a part of the reason why? So it could pop that part more?
No, I mean the white is the background. I just wanted to necessarily think of, you know, people don't have white walls, right? But that piece is gonna always be on its own white wall. You know what I'm saying? So that way it can kind of necessarily fit and go into anyone's setting. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. It's its own little gallery white wall. That's like my idea.
Oh, that's I didn't know what.
Nah, it's just a reflection. That's it. Yeah. And I just, like I said, that's something I'm just going to be exploring even more with different, because they only make 4 colors, so I need to try to make my own colors, you know. So that's something new that I'll be exploring with.
Does it reflect, like, even if you use like a different background, like black, will it still kind of?
I don't know. All I know is just showing it white right now makes it the brightest, because if you don't, then it's very dull. You know, and that's why the little ones are so much more prominent, because I don't have to dilute it. The bigger ones, they only make an ounce tube of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like $15 for this little ass tube too.
I think you try green with one.
Yeah, I
too.
was gonna say.
Yeah, it's green. Yep. So there's just a 1 ounce tube. So for the big ones, I have to stretch that tube in order for it, and that's the reason why the big ones aren't as bright, because it's one I have to stretch it to use it, otherwise I just got to buy like 4 or 5 tubes, and you know, man, I wasn't trying to spend $60 just to paint the back. Yeah, so you know, just trying to you know, it's just experimenting, and that's what my art is about. It's about exploring, you know, and just not being attached. When you have that sense of freedom of just being able to explore, the things that just come to light is sometimes you can't even think of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they're all happy accidents. You know, and that's the reason why they can all just be uniquely by themselves.
What's your favorite? Oh, you said that's your favorite.
Yeah, knock is my favorite. Yeah, it was by far the hardest one to complete. I painted this thing over, and you should have saw it. And also, I had to. All this wasn't even visible. I had all this stuff covered up, and you know, I started removing a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's when I realized it felt very confined, and I couldn't breathe. So I just started ripping shit apart and just started taking things off. And once I started removing that stuff, and then this sense of breath, you know what I'm saying? There, and it's just like, oh, I'm getting there, you know? And I was like, I love it, you know? But probably my second piece, probably the one right behind you, intermediate.
Could you, this might take a minute, but like I'm big on names, right? Like how people come up with the names, especially in abstract work, right? Like sometimes a name might not have anything to do with, you know, it might be something deeper. So could you explain like the names and why the names fit the pieces?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, most of my names, it's either something that's truly tied deeply to me, or what I'm necessarily going through, or what I went through in life, or it may be tied to the materials in itself that I'm using. Sometimes, like I say, it can be birthed in that way. Like Knock Knock, that title was just birthed because, like I said, I started using door jambs, and I know that I was in a doorway, and it just kind of all made sense of why it should be titled that way. Broken Lineage was, again, it's just one of those situations I knew I wanted to talk about. It's one of those, like I said, this is the only piece that I actually had thought out, and I knew exactly I wanted to have this piece in here, you know, and I wanted to speak about just African-American families who are, I'm not like the only one. It's a lot of us that exist in this way that we have no idea where our lineage even starts, you know, and where we come from. And it is forever lost. Yeah, you can do the ancestry and all this other stuff, but is it really that much more tangible, you know, that you don't actually hear it from your own ancestors and your own lineage? You know, it's just, and for me, it's not, you know, for me not to being able to hear it from my own family members, it means nothing to me. It's just a piece of paper on the internet that it told me something, you know? So I wanted to speak about that and show that with that, you know, and I think talking about your family and where you come from is highly important, and you shouldn't shun away from it, and you shouldn't keep any of it, right? We should all know that you should continue to carry it on. And then, like I say, other titles, they just kind of like come. Like I said, this one is titled The Seeker. And for me, at first, it was about like laying tracks. I wanted to necessarily show like this sense of place where I've come from and where I'm going. So it's like this sense of exploring, this sense of countryside, sense of necessarily city. So that's why I have this sense of the Ethernet cables and stuff like that in there, you know, of connections with things that I'm trying to make along the way, You know, so sometimes the titles just necessarily are birthed at the end. You know, like I just stare at a piece, bro, and just understand why did I make it? What is in it? What drew me to it? And these titles sometimes just come, you know, and they are, you know what I'm saying, they just happen. And the one behind you was titled Intermediate, and I titled that because I wanted to necessarily, I don't think it has nothing to do with, that's one of those where it's just a title, it has nothing to do with the piece in itself. But for me, it was about a time and a place. I went to an intermediate school, and that's where I actually was very creative. I played trombone, I drew, I did all these creative things. I used to play 3 instruments, you know. But again, once you realize you get older and know people in your environment aren't doing those things, you conform and kind of just do what they are doing. So that's how I ended up trickling into sports, you know. But if I had someone to nurture me or show me that there's a way, I probably would have been a musician, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I was really good at it. I played in the band until I was 8th grade, and I quit, huh? No, it's not. I mean, I still play the guitar. I try to play guitar here and there. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, I quit when I got into 8th grade because I wanted to now do things that will necessarily, quote unquote, please my father, who wasn't in my life. And I wanted to become very tech and savvy. But yeah, and I ended up starting taking tech stuff and started becoming a little tech guru, you know, because I wanted to be accepted by my father.
Does that play a part in your art? A lot of people who left one thing still shows up in the art.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would say, yeah, that's why I said that's why I'm so connected with the discarded materials, because like I've had people who've come in my life just for a split second, toss me aside and don't speak for a few, you know what I'm saying, years, and then you just come back and it's supposed to be everything it's supposed to be, you know, normally kind of it can fuck with a child's head, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, it ain't till I'm like a grown man and an adult that where I'm at this point where it's like, I take it for it is what it is. I can no longer chase or try to please, you know, I can only do for me and my family, you know. But yeah, man, that's it. And like I said, worn and torn is just like, it's my physical being, you know what I'm saying? Like I've legitimately have been worn down. I've felt, you know what I'm saying, just beaten, you know. But at the end of the day, I've never given up. I'm still going to this day, you know, and that's it. And uncovering the unknown is this entire lifestyle, you know. I had no idea what I was going through or what was going to happen with me, but it was the sake of just doing it, right? And doing something for me and just being okay not knowing, because people called me crazy when I quit my job. Like I had a great paying job in IT, you know what I'm saying? I was, you know, a senior provision engineer. I had a team of 6 engineers I led, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I had this very progressive career that I just said, fuck it. I don't want it. It provides nothing for me. I will figure it out along the way. And that's what I've been doing for these last 6 years. Figuring it out along the way. There is no roadmap. I am building a roadmap as I breathe, you know? And it's every day the roadmap changes, you know?
Reflective then on just on that whole journey, like coming down here, you know, into this building where there ain't nothing in it, and now seeing like everything that's on this block and being a part of, you know, building and making something tangible in this space.
Again, that goes back to that uncovering the unknown. Like I said, me and my wife, we decided to quit our jobs back in 2018, and we decided to move to Atlanta. And everyone asks me, why did I choose Atlanta, right? It's like, why Atlanta, you know? And for me, why not Atlanta, you know? There is representation here, you know? There is good and bad, but that's all over the world. But for me, there was more sake of just being able to see representation of myself doing things that I wanted to do, you know? And they are happening in bigger cities, but I felt that, you know, it may be harder to really tap into it. And for me, I ended up having to really come across people who were very willing to let me into their spaces here in Atlanta and open their doors and have that Southern hospitality that I'm used to in Southern Virginia. So coming here and then like following a person like Maya, who I just followed on the internet, you know, and, you know, just him putting out a call saying, hey, come help me volunteer at Peachtree Station. It's like, okay, cool. I don't know what that really entails, but it's a community. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to submerge myself in the community. So it's at least a place for me to start, right? So that's where I started. I haven't left. Just so you guys are aware. And for me, it was just a place that I could learn, and then I started surrounding myself around these people in the community that I wanted to be a part of and started learning. They started educating me on it, and that's when you realize that communities really thrive, and I found that was very rewarding. To be able to end up finding a place and being able to be around people that are like-minded like yourself and being able to learn from them. And being grateful that Maya allowed me to grow as an artist under his space, because I had no idea what I wanted or what it entailed. All I know is I wanted to be a full-time artist. I had no idea what that actually consisted of. Didn't know what my day-to-day life would be like. All I thought was I paint every day and I sell some artwork. Well, shit, that is not the life. You trust and believe. There's a lot more to it than that, And that's where I come quickly to learn that you have to go out here and be involved in these communities and be a part of the community. And that's how the communities grow. And that's how you grow with one another. So I was able to learn that from being at the station, and being able to branch out and meet all of you guys. Like, I literally met everyone in this room through a connection from that place and there, But if I would have never just took the leap of faith to just walk through those doors and be okay with not knowing what is the actual outcome of it, or what do I gain from it other than knowledge, was like completely fine with me. Because that's all I was looking for, was just knowledge. And if anyone wanted to share that with me, I was open for it here, Because at the end of the day, I'm not smarter than anyone in this room, At the end of the day, we all have the ability to keep learning and keep inspiring and keep growing, And yeah, man, and like I said, that's been this entire journey, And I've been extremely grateful for that. And being able to see that space as it is now, where it was literally like nothing, and just seeing Maya talk about these ideas and just being like, I don't know what the hell he talking about. But hey, he got a vision, And then we end up building it, and then you seeing these things build, it's just like, that fueled even more. It's like, yo, you can really, you can really build nothing. You can build something from nothing, And you just have to have a vision, and you have to have the courage to do it, And that's all it takes. All this here is nothing but courage, and that ability to want to just put it in front of the world and say, hey, this is what I do, this is what I love doing, and I just want to share it with you, So hopefully I was able to answer your question there, sir. Yeah. Any more questions?
I got one last question.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. So where you are now, as far as the art, right? I remember early on when we met, you had given me a piece that you had drawn, and you were doing these pieces. I don't know if I ever asked you this, but I was just curious. There were pieces that always had like an elongated eye. And I wanted to know like where that came from, and also I wanted to commend you too, because I think you came into a space at Peachtree Station where, like, I wouldn't say everybody had a style, but everybody was, you can tell whose work was what. And for you to just like go abstract when nobody else was doing it, I think it takes like some foresight and courage, to do it, because I'm understanding abstract work through you. Like, I had no interest in it initially. I didn't know how to take it in, and my whole journey has been through you, learning through you. So I want to commend you on like having the courage to just do that, especially when all of our peers and our friends wasn't really doing that, And you create a lane for yourself, not only with that, but with the frames as well. But I want to know, like, where did, like, were you exploring with that, and then you got here, or what was that?
Yeah, so for me, it's like, so when I first got into art, the one thing that I knew that I wanted was I wanted my work to be just very distinctive. Like I wanted to be known. As soon as you walk into a space that you know, like, hey, that's a Quamaine Giles piece. So I needed a signature. And when I was doing figurative and illustration work, I felt that most people either had a character or they had some sort of signature way that they drew, you know? So that's just where I was exploring and trying like these elongated, alienated like people, you know what I'm saying? And I tried that and did it in a few cell here and there, but again, I guess for me, it was never, it felt so forced, right? Like, because for me, it's just like, I gotta sit here and I have to like formulate how do I wanna make this look so different, you know what I'm saying? And make it look like it's mine. And it started becoming very daunting. And that's when I realized like, okay, like all I'm doing is just, like for me, it's just this, I would only paint and draw and make these illustrations because I just wanted for the sake for it just to sell. And just, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of got tired of doing that. I started getting burnt out. And then that's where I started having this thing of artist block. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't know what else to paint. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because honestly, I was just trying to think of paintings that's gonna strictly just sell. You know what I'm saying? But still have my touch to it, but not necessarily going the celebrity route of just doing portraits and all this other stuff. So I was just trying to explore and trying to find that. But like I said, during 2020, during COVID, I realized like, you know what? Like ain't nobody really buying this stuff. Like I love abstraction. I know enough about color palettes. I know enough like about it. Like I'm about to just give this shit a shot. You know what I'm saying? And figure it out and like find my voice along the way with it. And that's just what I did. And I just been growing year after year and just trying to like hone in on that craft. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have to educate, like, you know, this is Atlanta and, you know, a representational and figurative art is king and queen.
It is.
But, do you feel like you have to ever do any education to certain communities to understand art beyond figurative or representational?
And in some sort of way, yeah, right? Like you have to like, because once you start explaining things to some people, then it seems like they click, right? Because, but I think it's just mostly people's, you know, their brains are not really trained to think a certain way. They're so used to it being like, what is it? You know what I'm saying? But it's not about what is it, like, do you see how it was made? You know what I'm saying? Do you see the creation of it? You know what I'm saying? The hand that molded and put it together. I think that's where I look at abstraction from, you know what I'm saying? From that essence of just like the core of how it was strictly made to be presented in front of me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I think sometimes, yeah, you do have to educate them, you know? And I have no problem doing that. But a lot of times I tell people that like, sometimes there's nothing really to educate or really about. But other than just this fact of that I took things, made it into something that I think that is strikingly beautiful to look at and to see and to know that I made these all from materials that you probably use today to show you how creative we are as human beings and how creative we can be. You know what I'm saying? And like at the end of the day, you can push it.
It's always so funny to hear people who are not abstract artists say, I can do that. And then when they have the opportunity to do that, you find that this is some of the hardest work to ever make because there isn't a cut and paste formula. You might try to reproduce something you saw, but nobody really understands, like, not gonna say nobody, you know, we're out here, but a lot of people who are focused on figurative or representational art don't understand the mind of someone who creates abstract art, and only us abstract artists know when we've done something wrong and we have to change it because there's no blueprint or step by step. I think people who get it and they seek it out, but I like what his brother said when he said you opened his mind to it, you know, and I think that's happening more and more.
I think it's starting to happen a lot here in Atlanta, you know, because like I said, the abstraction here in Atlanta isn't that big, you know what I'm saying, at least for the community that I've been a part of, and the black community is not really that strong, and a lot of people who do get it, it's like, I don't get it. But sometimes it's not for you to get. It's just more or less, can you appreciate it? You know what I'm saying? Do you feel that this person woke up and had the courage to make it and put it in front of you? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's enough. You know? Yeah, that's it. Like sometimes, like I said, I may not have an elaborate story, you know, but for me, it's just like, it's about the ability to wake up and just make work every day. And that's what I enjoy doing. And, you know, I think the story can tell itself. Sometimes people have their own stories, and I'm not gonna tell them they're wrong, you know, because at the end of the day, I can't tell you what you can feel from my pain, you know, because that's the whole point of me making it, is for you to have some sort of jerk reaction and some sort of feeling. So the fact that you had it, I did my job already.
I know for myself, when I paint abstract, it's more of just like intentional or just intuition and feelings for me. And so when I have the courage to share it, it's like I don't want the viewer to evaluate the work. I want them to experience it. And so that's how I see abstract art. It's just like what is my experience and what is it making me feel? I mean, that's for all art, but I think it's something special when it comes to abstract, because you don't know, especially if the artist is not there to explain it. And it doesn't always, like you say, doesn't always have to have a story. But I definitely appreciate these two stories you told me.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for me, I'm a deep individual, so most of my work have some sort of story. But I do have some pieces where I don't really have a story. It was just more or less, it was a part of the experiment to get to that one big story that I had. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you have to give yourself that room of play. You know, because if everything has a story, I mean, I don't know, you're going to take away the fun.
Right.
At the end of the day, we want to have fun. And that's it, you know. But, yeah. Man,
So, a lot of your work prior to this wasn't behind Plexi, right?
Yeah, right.
Was the effort to do that just a level step up, or was it a reason behind that? Because it looks definitely museum quality. Not to say the stuff prior to
So again, it goes back to that was from a critique. Kevin Cole gave me a critique, and he said, "Put it behind glass. It's going to necessarily help the viewer necessarily accept it and look at it more." So I said, you know what? Like, all right, well, shit. I'll go ahead and put it behind glass. And so I tested it out. I was like, all right, because at first I was just putting them in the frames, but you know, it was just from a critique he had gave me. He said, try the glass. You know, I think it'll put it in a different set. And it did though.
It also protects the work.
It does, and that's why I said, and I think people, because at first, you know, a couple of years ago, I tried to do this without frames, but people really were afraid to buy it because it felt very fragile. Like they didn't want it, felt that it may, like, you know, so they didn't want to damage the work, you know, and people are afraid to buy it. So then I went back to putting it in a frame last year, and then, like I said, I got that critique at the beginning of this year, and that's how I tried the glass for the first time at Zuccotti, and you know, it was from that. It was from a sellout show, so I said, well, I think I got something. So yeah, it's just, and for me, it's just, it puts it there, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, I would love to have my work in a museum someday, you know, so I think, you know, it kind of shows that I think it could be in that setting, you know, I think it could, you know, as is.
So how will you protect, when you ask you the same question, and Hope can answer this before, when you're using things like fiber or cotton or burlap and things like that, and it hasn't been treated,
I treat it.
Well, okay, that's what I want to know. What did you do to protect those like natural?
So for me, for the cotton and all that stuff, I'm putting I'm soaking it and drenching that joint in that acrylic medium. So one, it's going to keep that form, and also just keep it from decaying over time. You know, so that's what that's what I use for my entire pieces. I actually coat it in all of that stuff as well, and then also I have the fabric stiffness stuff with golden. At the end of the day, some of this stuff that you can buy from these art stores is very handy. You know what I'm saying? And I've become a very big fan of Golden's materials with that, because, like I said, it has been the most durable. You know, with using their stuff. And also I didn't realize like how multi-purpose a lot of their stuff is. Like, you know what I'm saying? It could be used for multiple things, you know? So yeah, that's what mostly it's been coated with the acrylic gel medium.
You didn't lose the cottony essence of the cotton. It doesn't look like it's not cotton. It still feels soft.
So, and I think I was able to like be able to do that because I started at least try to peel and try to pull some, so it at least give some of that little fuzziness of the cotton still there, but it's so matted and hard down. It's like if you touch some of it, it's hard as a brick.
You sculpting at that point.
Yeah, because you know, it's just like I'm dipping it in that, putting it on that, then once I let it dry, I'm removing everything that is not a part of the actual medium in itself. So that's where that add and subtraction comes from with the, you know, it's very heavy in my paintings.
So you're not gonna do another shape like this?
Probably not. Huh? The shape, the rectangle. I don't do rectangles.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't do I mean, it was just sitting in my basement. You know what I'm saying? And out there, I was taking up a lot of space, and I was hoping that somebody was gonna buy it. But you know, somebody need to buy it so it can go on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, I don't know, but I don't see myself. It just felt so confined. Oh my gosh, that's the reason why I had to start stapling all the stuff on the side so it could at least, so my eye can just not go straight down. You know, yeah.
Can you go into this piece over here? I don't think it's
No, I never. So it's titled Traversing Across, and for me, I'm a snowboarder. That's what I do. That's one of my biggest hobbies. And in snowboarding, you can learn that, you know what I'm saying, you go up a big mountain, you go up mountains, and at the end of the day, like, there's a resort, so there's a way down, and that's the way that we all can take. But, you know, if you want to explore and you want to have fun and you want to see what's unknown, you can traverse across into the mountains. It still leads to the bottom, you know, and that's how I see life. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we all are going to a destination, and at the end of the day, a lot of the destinations are the same, but we don't have to necessarily all go down the exact same path. I can traverse across and take a path, an alternate route. I will eventually get there, you know, but me doing that allows me to explore and allows me to see things that I would have never expected. But if I would have stayed on this straight path, straight down the mountain, it would have been over so fast, and I would have never actually enjoyed what I was passing along the way.
So it's traverse across.
Yes.
Traverse across.
No, traversing across. So you're crossing, you're going across. You're going across the lands versus, you know what I'm saying, just going straight down it. You want to explore across and not going straight down. You know what I'm saying? As you're crossing, you're slowly making your way down. And that's what, like, one of the terms that's used in snowboarding and stuff is when they're trying to get across a mountain, they can't snowboard or ski down it. They have to traverse. They have to start hiking across and find a new route down, you know. And that's how I look at life, and that's been my life. It's about just traversing and making new paths and finding new paths to this destination that I am trying to arrive at.
What is the orange little squares?
Those are just papers.
Okay.
Yeah, just painted papers. Again, like, so for me, I wanted this sense of falling. I wanted you to show that, you know what I'm saying, it's a sense of down, right? And then one person liked to say, they remind them of a cross, right? Like a church cross and things like that. And that's what people think as well. But again, I mean, I was raised as a I'm not a religious person, you know what I'm saying? So it's nothing to do with the cross at all, unless, you know what I'm saying, subconsciously it could be, you know. But I'm a man of just walking faith and just day by day, and exploring life as you know what I'm saying, as I can take it. You know.
I got exploring, but I felt like a cell. Like I felt like
I see
that's
that
what I
too.
was feeling.
Fell in a cell, yeah.
Now that I know the name, that the rope to me feels like it's trying to get to a point.
So yeah, so I mean, so like I say, so let's say that the actual links in itself is a chain. You know what I'm saying? But there's nothing but zip ties that I painted, by the way. And then, like I said, it's a sense of just traversing across, and then you get here and you can just cross back, and I'm still ending it here at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So that's the idea, and that's the way, instead of just coming straight down, you know. And that's just how I see it.
Into this piece knowing that was the goal, and then you.
No, that just, it all developed as I was working on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that's one of those things where the idea formulates as I work on it. You know, because like it was one of these two were the last two paintings that I finished. You know, and for me it was just like, I don't know. I just showed up in the studio every day, was just working on it. You know what I'm saying? And just like, you know, just working on it. And then sometimes, you know, once I started linking that chain and started, you know, mapping it right, and I was just like, oh shit, I know what I'm gonna call this. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm experiencing here. You know what I'm saying? And that's how these titles ends up coming about.
Do you work on one at a time?
Nah, everything was worked on at the same time at some point. So like I say, I like to call it, I work on a lot of paintings. Just to start, I go through a phase of just like putting things together, casting it aside, putting it together, casting it aside, putting it together. Once I got a bunch of them, I start painting on them. And just start kind of just like, I guess, alleviating stress in a way, you know? And then after a while, probably letting them sit on ice, bring them back into the studio, and that's where I start like formulating it, trying to make it into an actual piece in itself. Try to see, okay, where did I leave off at, you know, and how can I turn this into a presentable piece?
Is there one non-paint and I guess medium that is used in all of them, since you work on them all kind of at the same time, or is there like an element in all of them that's in all the pieces?
Yeah, I would say everything. I mean, I think that was the only one that don't have no cardboard in it, and this one as well, these two, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I would say everything in here, every last one of the pieces have all of the materials are tied, or
yeah, like,
you
are they
using
connected like in a way because they were from the same thing?
And sometimes some of these pieces are broken off from a bigger piece. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know what? I'm gonna just take this corner of this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna rip this whole corner, and then I'm gonna rip this other corner, and then I formulate it into 3-4 pieces. And then I start painting on it from there, you know, to try to give it its own identity at that point. And that can happen from a lot of the smaller paintings. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Are you using pastel?
Mm-hmm. So I use every medium that we have: acrylic, oil, pastel, chalk, spray paint, or wood stain, sealer. Pretty much, you know what I'm saying. If it can go on a surface, I'm using it. Yeah. Man, this has been wonderful. I appreciate y'all, man. I really appreciate y'all. Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, man, I think that concludes it. I mean, I'm gonna be hanging out, obviously, but yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys. Y'all mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Huh?
I got some
Champagne? Oh yeah, I'll take a look.
drink it off myself.
Yeah, I'll take a little sip. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for the question, bro.
Yes, sir.
Good show going.